Hello and welcome to episode 36 of the Long Shot Podcast. I am your host, as always, Duncan Robinson, and I'm here with my good friend and co-host, Davis Patrick Reed. Davis, how are we doing?
I'm great. We are back. The NBA season is back. The vibes are back. Everything's back. We're good.
You're feeling very patriotic over there. For those of you watching on YouTube, you can see that Davis is sporting a USA Nike sweatshirt.
USA. Actually, that reminds me, I was, when watching the Ryder Cup, a week or two ago, it's funny, the crowd, the patriotism for American sports, there's nothing like it. You get the crowd on 16, just USA, after a guy rolls in a 5-foot putt. It's special stuff.
No, it's a thing to behold. I will say it had never been a bucket list item of mine to go to a Ryder Cup until this year. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what it was about this year. All of a sudden, I just felt like it was just covered to this great extent. And all of a sudden, people cared way more than ever before. But like you said, we watched it. I think you were in Miami for Saturday, Sunday of it. And great energy out in Whistling Straits.
100%. A couple takeaways from that statement, because I agree with you. One, it's becoming like the cool thing to do in the NBA. MJ's there every year. Now Steph's there. I get it. It's part of the maybe NBA culture now. You're a big golf guy, so it feels on brand. But secondly, interesting point you just brought up. It's on TV and you watch it, so people care. You know what that takes me to? Cornhole. Now cornhole's televised, and guess what? You catch yourself watching it on like a midday Saturday, and all of a sudden you're invested. So I think there's something about it, just the exposure makes you care.
If you're burning prime time Saturday afternoon hours with watching cornhole, that is some pretty dark behavior. Once again, no judgment. Like, who am I to judge what anybody's Saturday looks like? But with that being said, I think it's borderline disrespectful to throw the Ryder Cup in the same category as cornhole. And I also want to say that it was a little disrespectful to say that I'm now just kind of like in this, I'm following the mainstream NBA thing to be into golf. Like, I didn't appreciate that either, to be honest with you.
That none of it is meant to be disrespectful. I am purely making the correlation that I think by watching things, it's easy to get invested, especially when it's competitive. And the Ryder Cup's amazing. But if it weren't televised, I doubt you would care as much. Which also, I got to shout out to my sister. NCAA volleyball. Put it on TV, and I bet people would care, because that is fun to watch.
You know what I love about college volleyball is the camaraderie. The excitement after every single point. With the Miami Heat, we have a staple of our organization, and it's celebrating others' success. And those girls, when somebody gets a spike, when somebody gets a great dig, just the level in which they celebrate others' success, it's just a thing of beauty. It really is.
It honestly is special. And what's so special is even on bad points, even when the other team scores, you're huddling. It doesn't matter.
It's keep the energy high. It's
Correct.
Always about having great vibes, positive energy, next play speed. There's so many things in watching college volleyball that are relatable to real life success and what it takes to be successful in real life.
Correct. Never too high, never too low. You regroup, you huddle, you look your teammate in the eye and you say, all right, let's keep it pushing.
Let me tell you viewers something. So we keep kind of a little running list of things that we kind of want to touch on in the front of show. It's very loose, like single words here and there, just like a kind of like a roadmap. Actually, less like a roadmap, because that's more turn by turn, more of a compass. This is the direction that we want to head. And I'll be honest with you, never would I have ever thought that 7 minutes into this conversation, not even 4 minutes into this conversation, we are talking about college volleyball. But that's one of the beautiful things about the Long Shot Pod is, you just tune in every week and you just don't know what you're going to get. It's literally like Forrest Gump's box of chocolates. It's just every week is something different and something even more special.
For sure. We'll take you on a ride. Maybe we go way off the rails. Doesn't matter. We're here for the journey.
Exactly. As long as we got our compass out and we're headed the right direction. I really like that. I kind of pulled that one out of thin air, but for some reason it's kind of resonating. Did you have anything that you did want to talk about though, Davis?
Not really. I mean, no, I'm just kidding. So we're coming off, like I said, the NBA season's back. The Miami Heat are now one preseason game in the books. We talk about this on this podcast, but we don't want to overreact to a preseason game, especially one preseason game. But I will say this. The Miami Heat might be going 82-0 this year because, God, it was fun watching you guys. Kyle looks great. PJ looks great. You look great. There was no Jimmy Butler, and you guys still seem to be just a well-oiled machine. I don't know if that's credit to your preseason, your training camp. I don't know what it is, but you guys, I don't know. The energy was just right. Maybe it's fans back in the arena. There was a lot of good.
First off, did you say Tyler? Did you throw Tyler in there?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you might have omitted his name because I think he should be the first name that you mentioned.
Maybe I didn't. If I didn't, I apologize.
He was fantastic in game one. But yeah, no, honestly, it felt great to be back out there. Preseason is like, it's strange, right? Because it's like nobody, in theory, nobody cares, but obviously people actually care because it's like your first look at a team and how things kind of come together. And then also from the standpoint of like competition, it's like, oh, it's just preseason, but we're all competitors. As soon as the ball goes up, like we're still competing. It's not like people just don't care. So it's this weird kind of mix. But I will say it was a ton of fun to be back out there. I love the additions that we do have. Some of them you mentioned. I love the group that we have coming back. And yeah, the energy in FTX Arena was, I don't even think it was like close to capacity, but it had just been so long since we played in front of fans that it just had this feel to it. And it was special. It was great to be back.
I have a couple key takeaways from the game. One, we've already hit on. Tyler looked great. Two, you looked really tan, which was exciting. Three, great block from you on a John Collins dunk attempt, by far the highlight of the game. And four, we've talked a little bit about Kyle and his ability to push the tempo, but it was like, it's hysterical. It's like over dramatic. Like there are times where he's getting the ball and just chucks it down the court. It's amazing. Talk about high intensity, high excitement.
I said this in my post game presser. That's right. I had a post game presser. But it's controlled chaos. But it's so beautiful because it's like he plays with such a pace that when you're just like watching it, it's like sometimes like that looks ridiculous. Like he just chucked the ball down the court, but it's not just like reckless abandon. It's like, it's actually calculated playing with pace and pushing the tempo. And he has this unbelievable ability to know when to do that and then know when to, all right, we need to slow it up. We need to get a good one, or we have this stretch of game where we need to manipulate the clock and we can't play that way. And it's the only thing I can think of is that it's just something that you just kind of like learn over years and years of playing at this level. Because, if you stepped into a college program and just started throwing the ball around like that, coaches would lose their mind. And he's obviously not turning the ball over either, which is like incredibly hard to do. But he just has this crazy ability to like toe this line between, it's not chaos, but it feels like it, but it's actually impactful and effective.
Yeah, no, it was fun to watch. Speaking of your post-game presser, I watched it. This is just unfortunately where my life is now. Like I need to be dialed in on all things Duncan Robinson.
No, that's actually your job. You are.
Yeah.
We would be deducted pay. You would be deducted pay. I didn't want to like change the power dynamic and say that I would deduct your pay because that's not really how this works. But you would be deducted pay if you didn't watch my post-game pressers.
It's true. My quarterly check-ins are like, how many of Duncan's interviews have you watched? What percent? No, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think someone asked you about what you worked on in the off season, and at the end of the question threw in like, what do you need to improve to beat Davis in one-on-one, which is like such a disrespectful question to you, I thought.
What would you say was the focus of your workouts? What is that one thing that you now have in your bag that you didn't have last season, and that maybe might make you more of a problem next time you play Davis Reed?
I was asked that question, and apparently, according to you, the answer should have been my tan, because I actually heard from a couple people that they're like, hey, you look tan, and I want to get up in front of this and say that I don't actually think that I'm tan. I just think that the last 2 years I have been like so holed up. I live in the city of Miami. Their sun is 90% of the day. And I would just never see the sun. I got no natural vitamin D. In fact, not to disclose too much of my personal health information, but I was actually vitamin D deficient. I had to start taking vitamin D supplements because I was getting so little sun. So, anyways, I think it was more so that this summer I just spent just like marginally a little bit more time outside, and a lot of that was actually playing golf. I've been trying to play more golf now. I also want to say, I also spent significantly more time in the gym working on my game.
I don't know, man. That's not what it sounds like to me.
So for everybody out there that's going to, clip that soundbite and say, oh, Duncan's working on his tan this summer, wasn't working on his game, go kick rocks, please. If you're going to do that, please kick rocks, because I think I've made it abundantly clear that I've also worked on my game. And I hope that it's become clear through how I play as well.
I don't know, man. If we're connecting the dots, you sign a big contract. Now all of a sudden you're more tan. You're not vitamin D deficient anymore. You just told us you're working on your golf game. I don't know. Things are lining up in a weird way. I don't want to be any clickbait title here, but the title of this video might be Duncan Robinson, more sun, less gym.
All right, I'm leaving it at that. Let's we got some exciting news. We have a new segment that we are feeling out. We are potentially introducing. Davis, do you want to shine some light on what that might be?
Yeah, first of all, we need our workshop, our sound alert or our sound effect for a new segment. Wee-oo, wee-oo, wee-oo. Wee-oo, 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 wee-oo. We still don't have a soundboard, so I just need to get that in. Yes, we love hearing from the community. It's one of our
huge
favorite
for
things.
us. Huge for us.
People are sending long shot features. People are now sending questions for the Reddit question of the week. Like, we're not needing to go to Reddit as much. People are sending us direct questions, which is awesome. But we want to keep hearing from the community in a little bit different way. So this new segment, we're working on a name. We don't have a name yet. A working title. But we want to just take a few minutes to just sit down and give some advice. And I want to be clear, this isn't coming from a place that we think we're all knowing beings, but we just want to, like we've talked about, this is a community. So if there's anything you want to ask us, it doesn't have to be basketball related. It can be. If you want to ask me, not Duncan, how to shoot a 3-pointer, go for it. I'll give you my best answer. But if you also want to ask, you've got a math test coming up and you need some help, fire all questions our way. We're going to have a quick segment where we give some advice to our community.
Yeah, I almost prefer it not to be basketball advice. It's okay if it is.
No, I agree.
But it's think of it more as like a life advice with Duncan and Davis. Is that's kind of the angle that we're going for. And once again, this isn't because we have it all figured out. We certainly do not. It's more so because we just want to continue to grow our relationship with all of you. And I think what a better way than to get, really intimate, really just get down into the nitty gritty of kind of what's on all of your mind and what's been really troubling you. And maybe we can shine some light and maybe help out a little bit in that regard. We'll see. Maybe we can't either, like more likely than not, we probably can't, but at least we can do is just kind of help, flesh it out.
The betting odds in Vegas are that we are no help to anybody. So maybe this is a disaster, but I think it's going to be fun. So yeah, please send us social media, Twitter, Instagram. You can message us, but also email us at thelongshotpod@gmail.com. We are taking all inquiries and we'll see where this goes. Who knows? We might do it one week and realize it's a terrible idea, but we're exploring. This is what we're doing. We're pushing the envelope forward. Like you've talked about, we have a general compass here, but we're gonna go towards the North Star and see what happens.
Yeah, we're all about creativity, and we felt like this was a good angle to take. Let's do Reddit question of the week here, Dave. What do you got?
Here is a perfect segue because our Reddit question of the week this week is a question. They need some advice. So this question comes from Pretty Top Say Bro. Sorry,
Sounds right.
I don't know.
Sounds right.
It's something in that vein. But they ask, what are some one-liners I can use to convince people I'm knowledgeable about basketball when I'm really not? And let me tell you, I've been there with other events. Maybe it's a hockey game. Maybe it's a volleyball game. You know, my family, we've talked about big into volleyball. I don't know as much. So what can I do, Duncan, if I'm watching the basketball, the NBA, and I'm in a group that knows a little bit more than me and I want to fit in? What can I say?
It's a great question. I think first off that try your hardest to have your answers fall into the context of the situation, right? So I'm going to give you some like pretty straight point and shoot answers. So let's say, for example, an offensive team goes on a little bit of an offensive rut. They miss a couple shots. Ball's not going in. Instead of saying something like, oh, you know, the ball's not going in, or he's got to make that. That's very surface level. What I think you can get to is always talk about the spacing. Spacing's bad. Yeah. Bad spacing. They got to get better spacing. Give the ball some air. You know, find the open man. Let the ball find energy. A little more driving kicks and paint touches to some sprays. Talk about the spacing and really lean into that. Spacing is key for offensive success. Now, it's very likely that they have great spacing and the ball's just not going in. But you can always fall back on spacing. And the other thing is, nobody's ever going to be able to call you on that because they're not going to be able to look back and be like, oh yeah, like that possession 5 possessions ago had bad spacing. Like, what it'll really show is that it'll show how observant you've been, whether or not you actually have been. So I point out the spacing.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's a good answer because here's the other thing: the spacing can always be better unless you have 4 guys in the 4 corners of the court. Your spacing can always be better. So I think that's a good one. I think that's one you can constantly lean on. I'm going to go talk about the coverages defensively. You know, announcers love the buzzword of coverages, you know, and it sounds elevated. I don't even know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about coverages, but I think if a team's getting scored on, if your team can't get a stop, you just talk about how you need to mix up the coverages. Okay. And that I think that immediately is going to ascend you into the IQ of the group there.
A safe one, since you bring it up, it's a great point. A safe one in NBA circles is now mind you have to be sure that they're not already switching everything, but a great adjustment that you can point out is they need to switch every ball screen. They got to start switching. Take away the triggers, take away the action, switch everything, blow it up, flatten them out, stuff like that. Because it's important, though, that you have to know that prior to that, they have not been switching everything. Because if you say they need to switch everything and they've been switching everything, then you just don't.
That one's a little more advanced. You got to be in tune with the switching. But spacing, coverages, switch everything. I think those are 3 good ones you can lean on when watching a game.
All right, Dave, pushing forward here to our long shot feature, Ibrahim Hamatau. Not sure if that last name is correct. I'm sorry, Ibrahim, if it's not. Feels right, though.
Feels right.
He's an Egyptian Paralympic table tennis player. He lost both of his arms at 10 years old in a train accident. He holds the paddle in his mouth, which is absolutely incredible to me.
Unreal.
And he represented Egypt at the 2016 and 2020 Paralympic Games. That is nothing short of absolutely remarkable.
Yeah, remarkable. He's represented. He's been in a couple championships since for the last decade, world championships. But yeah, 2 Paralympic appearances and just amazing stuff. Another good one. These are good every week, though.
Yeah, incredible stuff, Ibrahim. All right, we got a great conversation with the man, the myth, the legend, Solomon Hill. Here is Solo.